Bizarre.
Well,
Absolutely bizarre.
and that leads us on to Dynamite as well, which we'll talk about, which we had the Blood and Guts teams. We had the debut of Nick Wayne on here. We had, plenty of the semi-finals of the Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament. I mean, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the last bit for it, or overall thoughts? I mean, I have to admit, I enjoyed this.
I think the biggest stories coming out of it are the Blood and Guts, kind of setup now. Really, the last 20 minutes of the show, or last 15 minutes of the show, to be honest. By the time the bell rang, I think that's probably where to start. I'll get the TV results off the screen there. But yeah, I think Packers. I was saying this on the Daily Update yesterday. It's just great to see him back in the AEW environment. I think we're on the road to All In. This is the time to do it. So I'm really excited that he's back on TV. Not a perfect fit with the Blackpool Combat Club, but clearly they were in a bind. Kota Ibushi coming in, I'm fine with that too. It makes sense. I think it would make more sense if the Elite were outnumbered and Danielson was in this on the scene, and it was 5, and they didn't have a 5th man, and Eddie's in Japan. What are we gonna do? And then Kota comes out, or they make the announcement to Kota. I think that would have been better. But I like that too. I think there's a negative to going, and it's not really their fault going into this big cage match, which is supposed to be this big grudge match, and now there's basically 2 strangers in there that weren't really part of this entire thing. But I'm quite happy with those 2 announcements. And yeah, I suppose the other highlight story, I'll throw that at you as well, JP. We can talk about it as a job law. Connor saying here, yeah, how will we address the fact that 18-year-old Nick Wayne's career is ruined after losing to established star? I've seen that discuss. It's mainly coming from Meltzer. If I understand that his argument is they built him up and built him up and built him up, and then they put him on TV and he lost, and it was like, I mean, AEW often put people on TV or don't build things up well enough. So I'm not going to have a go at them for building this one up. And at the same time, I think both things can be true. I also think, as a resident Swerve Strickland fan, they shouldn't have put him over anyway. Absolutely not. The lad is probably 5 years from knowing even who he is. Right now, he's a child. He's basically younger than your lads. He's a fucking kid. And he's just doing a bit of an Osprey impression, just finding his feet. Maybe the argument is he shouldn't be on TV at all, I suppose, at that point. But I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing somebody in at that level, in a loss. Maybe he could have 1, 2, 3 kidded his way over a lesser heel than Swerve Strickland. I don't know. I think it's a lot much ado about nothing, really. I think his time's going to be 5 years from now, and the point was to go, oh, isn't this young kid good? Oh, hopefully, it's almost like he's not quite -1, but it's almost like, yeah, one day he's going to be something, but he's clearly not that now. I don't think that's a bad story to tell.
He's closer in age to -1 than he is to most of the AEW roster.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't understand that discourse at all. I didn't expect him to win. The story with him is a long story. Him winning puts undue pressure, and all of a sudden you're kind of in a position where you haven't to put him on TV every week, and you maybe don't want to be doing that. I love those kind of you should be doing that for everyone. That kind of much more serious presentation of them and how they got to be in this place. And yeah, there's no way that he should be beating Swerve Strickland, given Swerve Strickland's involved in programs with Darby Allin and the like. So I mean, that would have made no sense
as it is. I was joking about that in our Discord. If he fucking gets booked to lose again tonight, me and Tony Khan have words. That happens too much for him. And again, maybe don't book the match then. Maybe I will more listen to an argument of maybe Nick Wayne should be on telly yet. But I just don't think Nick Wayne should be racking up wins right now, because like I say, he's a prodigy. That's his role right now. And one day we'll see if he turns into a man. You're not going to push him off the gate. He's not getting a world title unless Jericho sees him, and then it'll be like, oh, it's Action Andretti 2.0. I've got to have a match, and then he'll put him over or something like that, 5 years too early, and then he'll languish like Action Andretti has since then. Yeah,
I don't even know if Action Andretti got an intro when he took on Scorpio Sky. I don't think he did.
You know what? We skipped that when we talked Collision. I was annoyed because obviously it was skippable because it was Scorpio Sky's singles match. But I really wanted to lampoon how fucking boring that was, and how Action Andretti is just nothing, and Scorpio Sky will never be anything, and has never been anything for his 25-year career. He's a fucking. He should be a job, maybe not a job guy, but a jobber to the stars. He's like a nice little worker, nice little pro to have on your show. He should not be a push commodity in 2023, and he didn't look like someone who should be a push commodity in 2023. It's an aside, but sorry, I didn't get it in on Spotlight.
Yeah, generally agree with you on that one. In terms of the blood and guts announcements, like say, I think given the circumstances, Pac is a great choice, given what they had to do, because he put in someone in there who's an excellent worker, but also has that history of Kenny Omega, and they're doing something with him, something substantial at least. And every time he's put in that role, he delivers. And we're in the build up to All In, and you want to have Pac on the shows. You want to have someone else that's, if you are putting like British stars on the show, he is there because he's been there since the start and is worthy of being put into something meaningful and just away from Death Triangle, because he just puts him in a fucking trios purgatory again. Just keen on
What are
that.
we? What even are that triangle? Like a couple of baby faces and a geek manager who knock around with a heel? I don't even understand why he's associated with it at this point. He tried to get me to join them on Fight Forever. I said no. So I was CM Punk. I think I made like a wisecrack about what are they going to be? Death Square. That was the one notable thing in my career mode in AEW Fight Forever. But yeah, he should be away from that. He should be. He should be. We always say about him, he should be the gatekeeper. He's probably never going to be your top guy, but he's your upper mid carder that you beat on the way to your big match. You know what I mean? He could set so many people up for MJF, or he can, in his own right, be the secondary title holder or something like that. He's massively undervalued, and he spends way too much time, presumably, sat in catering or whatever it is they have him do when he's in America.
And I just think he should be a solitary character, kind of existing in his own space. Isn't aligned to factions and heels. His character just isn't someone who gets on with people. And that's brilliant. And it's different from everybody else. And the same way Eddie Kingston is the only other person who can kind of operate in this space of like fluidity between it all. And Pac should kind of be there as well, where you don't know if you'd really trust him. I just say about the match, it's just with Don Callis on the outside. This is as Sting Squadron versus the Dangerous Alliance as we're ever going to be getting for this, because it is all set up. So I don't want to see a spot on the top. I want to see all the action going on the inside. But yeah, we'll talk about it on Spotlight.
They've established that now, haven't they? It's fucking coming. It's coming. While we're on the subject, Platt and Andy mentioned there, yeah, Commander was on Dynamite with Alex Abrahantes in his corner, who it's not even like in the top 100 of AEW's problems, but it's a pet peeve for me. Get that fucking man off telly with his fucking Dracula cape and his stupid gloves and his fucking just making every cool luchador seem like the most uncool man in the world because they knock around with Alex Abrahantes. Like, it's bad enough he's killed Pentagon Zora. I mean, the Bookings kind of done that too, but like, don't put him with another one. Did you have any thoughts on Commander Jericho? It kind of fit Jericho being the drunken. He looked like one of those drunk heavyweight lucha guys who's in a mask versus mask match on a Triple Mania or something like that. Like with the commentary screaming behind him, I could picture that. A few botches in there, kind of what you'd expect. I thought that was all right as far as the matches went on the show.
I thought he was fine, like using Jericho as a kind of opener here. I mean, I actually enjoyed the stuff with Don Callis afterwards as well. But then generally, I'm just predisposed to like everything that Don Callis does.
He's very
like,
good,
I really am.
I love that entrance, Dan.
That entrance is brilliant, and it's just generating heat, and that's all you want him to do is just play up on the unlikability of him. The video they showed with him with Bad News Brown, or Bad News Allen, as he was known outside of WWF as well, was awesome. Like that,
surprisingly good quality too.
Yeah,
like HD, wasn't it? That was impressive.
Mate, it was better than most of BritRest fucking presentation that we saw throughout all of that entire period. But yeah, where it goes, like, I mean, I don't know. It's just sort of
Jericho gets 80,000 people to sing fucking Fozzy at Wembley. He gets to pretend to be a babyface until All Out or something. Watch him, he'll turn back at All Out. That's 100% the plan. I believe that, honestly, with all my soul. That's what he's doing. And never mind the fact that Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara are both simultaneously doing "Do We Belong in This Stable" storylines. He's doing his own one now where the stable basically doesn't exist anymore. It's Jericho, being into business for himself. Speaking of Sammy and Danny, I was to quickly mention the Blind Eliminator stuff. Obviously, them going over isn't the big news, but MJF and Adam Cole beating Brian Cage and my man Big Bill. Less about the match. what do you make of this MJF and Adam Cole bit? Real fucking split on my timeline. Of people who fucking hate it and people who love it in a way that I find almost unbelievable. But it's not that there's not entertainment in it. Like, I've seen there's been arguments about it on Twitter over the last 24 hours. Like, Arman Rovert's a big defender of it. You know, he's pointing at the quarter hour because it was the high points this quarter hour. MJF and Colby, Brian Cage, and Big Bill. You can also point to the reactions in the building. People are clearly loving this stuff. I did see, our friends over at Voices of Wrestling. I think it was maybe Lanza that pointed out that yes, but the backstage segment was also the worst rated thing on Dynamite. I don't know if you can necessarily blame that, but I enjoy that kind of. It makes the argument a little bit more I don't know, fair on both sides. Where'd you land on it? Because it seems like it's working. Is it just one of those things where I have to be like, it's not for me, but it works? Like, it's like I've got this idea of like the world title shouldn't be involved in this, and I maybe still stand by that element of it, but I also think some of this is absolute shite, but people are loving it. And yeah, it seems to be working in the buildings.
Yeah, I'm probably in that camp of I think it's generally shite because we've had a very similar. These are my reasons why I don't like it. We've had a kind of similar thing with Sammy Guevara before, not that long ago, where it's very similar in the kind of unmatched tag teams. These are kind of two very comedic angles that MJF is doing as your world champion, and I just don't like world champions and comedic things because the idea is the weight of carrying the company makes you very serious and eventually turns you kind of heel. It's like the ring in Lord of the Rings, effectively. It's the kind of thing that ultimately ends up corrupting you. And we're not getting any of that. We're getting a load of silly bollocks. I didn't like the stuff in the bar, but it's sports entertainment and they don't do much of it. So when they do it, I naturally think there's a thing where people kind of gravitate to it, but I'm just not a fan of it.
There's a kind of journalist that fuck it, like the people on my Twitter who are lapping this up. It's a lot of like the journo types you might hear me talk about a lot, and it's like Platt's kind of so I said that point for me. It was the Angle and Austin comedy segments, that I was talking about the other week. That maybe Angle's now taking the wrong lesson from. It's over. It's if you depending on who you believe, it's very entertaining. Like I said, there are bits I do kind of laugh at, the double clothesline stuff and some of the stuff they did in the match. I can't lie, I did get a bit of a kick out of. But that also, it's like Steph made this point, an amazing point. If you want to point to the TV viewership and you want to point to the quarter hours, Orange Cassidy kills it most weeks. Does that mean he should be world champion? No, of course not. That can be a really popular thing on the show that fits a certain role that I think if MJF had lost the title at the last pay-per-view, whatever it was, let's say we did this in 6 months and it's at the end of his run, and a way of getting him out of the world title scene is to do this wacky odd couple thing with Adam Cole. I think I'd be much more like, oh, this is one of the, maybe not for me, but clearly one of the more successful things on the show. And also there's a very important world title match happening elsewhere on the show. I think that's exactly what it is. Like, is it entertaining, as Platt says here, but is it world champion worthy? I think you can still have that conversation, can't you? You can call it a success quite clearly based on the reactions. But at the same time, yeah, thing can be a success on the show without being around the world title. I think that's not an unreasonable position to be in with it.
No, I don't. And I think the world title complicates it unnecessarily. It adds this whole other thing that's a very serious thing in the middle of it. Whereas if these two, neither of them were world champion and they just found themselves in this position and they're kind of like an odd couple tag team alliance for a while, and then inevitably MJF turns on them because that's what he does to everyone, I'd be kind of fine with it. I just think it's, in terms of like comedic stuff, it's very low rent. That's how I felt. It was just like very like, I don't know. It's just not my kind of thing.
Maybe they're winning me over. There's definitely bits in it that I am enjoying. Like I'm saying, I hate it. But there's moments of it that I'm, yeah. But again, it's the in-ring stuff less than like the backstage skits aren't winning me over anytime soon. But yeah, I think like Connor says here, Connor's a good example. He finds it very funny, but it's not a world title feud. I think that's a fair point. Any other thoughts on Dynamite before we get into the Rampage and Collision preview?
Very quickly, I want to agree with Andy and the gent. We are now very much a Big Bill podcast. Just want to say, man looks like a fucking star, and he's working hard, and he has worked hard. He's worked hard for a while, and you just go, there's untapped potential. This guy cut promo. Just have these two as a killer tag team. I know they didn't win here, and just to say on tag teams, I'm more convinced by the idea of a Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia team having kind of like a whole lot of potential for them to go there. And I'd say, on the whole, I enjoyed the show. Apart from that Harley Cameron stuff, they just seem to be going absolutely mad on. Like, I don't know. I don't want to see any QTV on the telly. No, that's Rampage shit.
The quicker Powerhouse Hobbs smashes through them and they don't exist anymore, the happier we are. But yeah, I'm with you and Connor. Keep Cage and Bill as a team. Or just put the ROH belt on Bill. It's weird. It's like an ironic love. But at the same time, there's clearly money there. He could be, for some heel like Jungle Boy or someone, he'd be a great eater. Like, he'd be great.
Just call him Sid Lovely. In that case, never being a nicer version of Sid Vicious.
The name is an issue in a way, but I also kind of love it. Steph's not a fan at all, but for me,
to go back to it, Sid seemed to work for a while, and I don't even know how that happened.
Sydney Udy, as Matt would say. We should go from there into the TV previews, and first up, it all ties in Rampage and